G'day everybody, welcome to another episode of 4x4 Camping Adventures. And you catch me with me morning fire. It is an absolutely pristine morning here in Bunbury, WA. And I've got one of the best views in WA, I think, at this campsite. I do love this place. And the theme of this video is keep it simple, stupid. The KISS rule. I think we're all taught this as a young age. Keep it simple, stupid. It relates to a lot of things in life. And coming into 2025, I decided to implement the KISS rule into my camping setup. So as you can probably see to my left here, I've gone back to the Ranger swag. I've still got my moon chair, still love this moon chair. I've got a nice simple fire to the right there. My firewood is getting carried around in a milk carton, and I've got a plastic tub in the back of my car because, well, actually, I'll get into that a little bit later when I talk about the rear drawer setup. But this video, I'm going to explain why I've gone back to a budget, simple setup, and why I absolutely love it. So while I'm actually getting smoked out from the fire, we can all relate to that, this is my new rear setup. So you might have seen this in a couple of my other videos if you're sort of paying attention to the video I dropped. Would have been, I had a bit of a different setup with the canopy, but I had a pantry in there. But this is what I've gone essentially now with the roller shutter. So I've got my on-tap water system here, not sponsored. I bought that about 2 years ago, and I still think that is, if you haven't got a water system in your car for I think it's a 20-litre jerry can, it is one of the best water systems you can get. The cool thing about it, and as I said, this isn't sponsored. I bought it, it was about $220-ish, I think, off the top of my head. But what you can do is you get this little guy here, which is just a standard hose, plug that into there, and you can put out things like the fire when I leave this campsite. So pretty handy little device, and it just works off a cigarette plug. So very, very simple. So that's my water supply. Don't need a big water tank and that kind of stuff in the car, because you've got to remember, everything that I'm showing in this video, this car is driven like to work and back and other things around town and that kind of stuff. So it's a normal car. I put Pippa in the back, all that kind of stuff. So it needs to be more versatile than just a camping rig or a touring rig. So it needs to do both. And this is where I think I've come out the best of both worlds. So the problem with big drawer systems, and I was thinking about a bit of a drawer system when I originally got the shutter, and I was just like, yep, I'm going to get a full-blown drawer system built up in the car. And then I thought about, do I actually need it? Again, how many times do I go camping? Keep it simple, stupid. So I've literally just put back in my XTM 900mm drawer. I kind of wish I bought a 1300, but it is what it is. And I've got the just the King's slide out fridge. So nothing crazy. This whole setup here is probably like 500 bucks. So you can obviously go cheaper than that, but that's what this roughly costs off the top of my head. So that's just all run off the 12-volt system that's back in the back behind the rear seat. But I suppose the big thing about this whole setup is now I've got all this extra space in the back of the tub. So instead of putting more drawers in there, I've just gone back to a heavy duty plastic tub. Now I bought this one from, I think it was Big W off the top of my head, because they were the only ones I had stock at the time. And I kind of needed it before I went on my last trip with Matty on his Patreon camp. So a bit of a rush, and I know Bunnings has certain plastic tubs, but this is I think it's a 100-litre tub, something like that. But essentially, this has all my gear in it. So I've got my cooking stuff in here. I've got my drinks for camping. I've got my jet boil, all my propane. Obviously, I've got my Wild Track canvas bags with the clear tops. And I've got a whole bunch of other stuff in there. You know, I've got like chopping boards and all that kind of stuff, all built into this. The beauty of this is when obviously you come back from camping, I tend to wash my dishes when I get home, mainly because 9 times out of 10 you can get them sort of clean at camp, but I've only got cold water and I don't want to boil water and make dishes and all that kind of stuff. So I generally just like clean my plate, and then I clean it again when I get home. Generally just chuck it in the dishwasher or something like that. Cast iron pan I always clean at camp, because obviously they can get a bit stuffed up if you sort of leave them, and I have a habit of putting the lid back on this thing, forgetting about what's in there, and I'll reopen it up and be like, yep, probably should have cleaned that from last camp. So that's just one thing to remember when you're putting away stuff, is always clean it before you put it back in there. But the cool thing about this is now I can literally just have this in the shed of the house. Whenever I don't use it, the back of the car is a full tub pretty much, excluding this little area here. and obviously the on tap comes out as well. So I've pretty much got a 3/4 tub at 90%, and again 95% of the time I'm driving this on the road, I'm going to the shops or whatever. So I'd like to have more space in there 95% of the time than the 5% of the time I'm camping. Maybe 4 or 5 times a year, maybe. So that is how, and the cool thing about this actually is it fits perfectly hard up, and I put my firewood here. Actually, I'll just show you. So I put my firewood just there, and then my chair fits underneath the roller shutter. So there's a section of the roller shutter obviously where it goes into, and I chuck my chair under there. It all fits perfectly, and I've still got a little bit of space in here if I want to chuck like the chainsaw or something in there. Generally 9 times out of 10 I've got wood, but if I want to chop something up, I can chuck the chainsaw in there. Shovels and all that kind of stuff I can mount to the roof rack, or I can mount on the back here. The swag, before you ask, goes over these 2 bars. I just strap it on and it's happy days, or I can obviously strap it onto the roof rack. I've still got the Hurricane Fabrication tub door, and this sort of handles like my compressor hose and just like random stuff that floats around in drawers and that kind of thing. So this is a bit of better use of space. I don't think I've actually utilized this 100% yet, so I'm going to rethink about what I put in here, because I'm thinking about potentially putting my cooking gear in here. So I'm going to redo that, but it's essentially a bit of open space, and at the moment I'm just sort of chucking loose stuff in there so it doesn't just rattle in the, you know, through drawers and that kind of stuff. And that is now my rear setup. Super simple. Drawer, fridge, bit of wood, bit of water, and I've got all my cooking equipment obviously in the tub, because I chuck firewood and all kinds of random stuff in the back of this tub. So I've got the tub line. I'm not worrying about scratching and that kind of thing. It does get used as a ute. It's not just a camping rig. So as I said, 95% of the time I'm using this for ute related activities, whereas 5% of the time when I'm camping. And I've got to remember, camping is during winter normally. So winter sort of in WA comes between sort of May to like August, September. That's sort of like your winter, and that's literally when I do most camping. So I try to like go out 4 or 5 times over that period. Sometimes I go in summer at the end of the year, just sort of like in December, but 9 times out of 10 it gets too hot. So that's how I've done my rear setup now, and I think it works really, really well. So this is the second time I've gone out with it, and everything works perfectly. I just use this as a cooking surface, and I'm absolutely stoked with it. It's super simple, and I've got the best of both worlds. As I said, I've still got a ute, and I've still got a full-blown camping setup. So if you're a bit of a veteran to the channel, I've been doing this for 8 years now, so there's probably a few out there who remember this swag. And yeah, I've gone back to a swag setup. Let me give you the reason why. I did a video on 5 reasons I hate rooftop tents. Now, one of the main reasons was 30mm mattress in my rooftop tent. Now, I'm not saying all rooftop tents have a 30mm mattress, but the one I bought did, so I can only base it off obviously what I've experienced. It was a good rooftop tent, super simple to set up. It was good quality. I didn't really have any dramas with it, but every now and then I would just get a shocking night's sleep in it, because either I wouldn't be laying right, I'd be on the wrong angle or something like that, and I get a sore back or whatever. And I still bring it down to that 30mm mattress, because essentially it's 30mm mattress, then slats. So if you sleep on one of those slats, it can really throw you out, and you can get a bad night's sleep. And there's nothing worse than being like really excited for a camping trip, like 2 or 3 weeks out, you and the boys organise this camping trip, you're stoked and excited to go. Then you go camping and you have a shocking night's sleep, and then you got to go work the next day. It's not the greatest, because yeah, you're going to work just feeling even more tired than going into the weekend, because you had a whole week of work. Then you have a shit night's sleep, and then you're like, oh, I've got to go work tomorrow, and I'm trying to catch up and sleep and all the rest of it because I had a shocker. I've never had that in this guy. So this is the Ranger RT1 swag. It is a single swag. There is no sponsorship here. I've had this for 5 years. I'll put the invoice up on the screen. I think I paid $550 for this about 5 years ago. The best swag on the market. And I'm going to say that on YouTube. Yes, this is the best swag on the market. 100mm mattress. I'm not going to say any more than that. 100mm mattress. Absolutely the best night's sleep when I go camping when I'm in this thing. And even on shit ground like this, like I'm on an absolutely shocking surface. I mean, when I set up yesterday, I was like, oh, that'll do. But, you know, there's not great surface here. Like, it's all bumped, and because obviously guys on motorbikes come down here and they do skids and that kind of stuff. So it's not the greatest surface, and you're on an angle because obviously I'm on the top of a hill, and still absolutely epic night's sleep. Awesome night's sleep in this guy. So yeah, it's why I've come back to this swag. I'm probably never going to go back to a rooftop tent again unless someone can come out with a pop top on the back, which has a 100mm mattress in it or something similar. But I'm going to stick with my old trusty swag. There is one thing I'm going to change with the swag is lift it up with a stretcher. I've never actually done the whole stretcher thing with swag. It's always just been on the ground. But yeah, I'm going to go to the stretcher to see how that goes. So I'm just going to get myself a stretcher and yeah, obviously just raise it up a bit. And I chuck well, the actual electric blanket that I had in the rooftop tent, I now put into this, and it's bloody awesome. It gets so cozy in there. It's got an LED light inside. I did a video on this when it first came out. So if you want to sort of go through the ins and outs of how it all works and the cool features about it, you can go check that video out. But yeah, back to me swag, and I couldn't be happier. Yeah, as I said, I rocked up here yesterday, set this all up, and I've had a great night's sleep. And honestly, this is all I need to go camping now, and I'm really, really happy about that. I'm just really happy how this whole setup's come together. I've got the 180 on the Ranger, have one of these on the Trident actually, and the whole thing just works perfectly. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I think that'll be the end of this video. I can't say too much more because this is all I've got. This is how I go camping now, and this is how I'm going to go camping in the future, is pure basics. And keep it simple, stupid. So as I said, you don't need every single bell and whistle to go camping, and you can still have an absolutely awesome experience if you just have the basics like I did last night. I definitely didn't feel like I was missing out on anything, having not having this and not having that. So yeah, and I think we kind of forget about why we go camping. We want to get closer to nature and experience you know, nature in its all its glory. And I just sometimes think if you're taking an espresso coffee machine and that kind of stuff, kind of defeats the purpose of going out in the middle of the bush to, I suppose, go back to the old days when we had no technology. That's just my theory, and that's just my opinion. But I've really, really thought about it since the start of this year, and I've made some changes in my life around mental health and fitness and that kind of stuff. And this is one of the changes that I wanted to make my camping setup, just to enjoy and experience this camping lifestyle a little bit differently to how I used to. So as always, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and if I don't see you in the next video, I might see you out here in the tracks and trails. If I don't see you in the tracks and trails, I shall see you later. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.